Well, are they ill-timed? I mean, she's trying to get a deal with America right now, and you're trying to get a deal with one party. You maybe talk up the other party to make them negotiate harder. That could be a different way of arguing ill-timed remarks.
Could she not have just kept her mouth shut just for a short time until she had done the deal? So, do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm meeting Scott Bessent shortly, who's the Trade Secretary. But she said, didn't she, that I understand why there's so much focus on our trading relationship with the US, but actually the relationship with Europe is arguably even more important than our nearest neighbour and trading partner.
Rachel Reeves just made a statement that has Westminster insiders gasping. The Labour Chancellor declared that Britain's trading relationship with the EU is more important than its ties with America, a move that could unravel decades of special relationship building. This isn't just political posturing, it's a calculated pivot that signals Labour's true Brexit intentions. While Starmer promised to make Brexit work, Reeves' comments reveal what appears to be a stealth operation to drag Britain back into the EU's orbit. The question is, did she accidentally reveal Labour's real plan, or is this a deliberate first step toward rejoining? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Of course, this follows the Chancellor's comments where she said our trading relationship with Europe is arguably even more important because they are our nearest neighbours and trading partners. Number 10 has refused to back Chancellor Rachel Reeves' claim that the EU is more important to Britain than the United States, and instead said both are incredibly important to us and we treat both with enormous respect. The timing of this comment is what we call awkward. She's preparing to meet the US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Washington today as she attempts to progress on a potential...
Rachel Reeves has just dropped a diplomatic bombshell that's far more significant than a mere blunder. During her visit to Washington, Britain's Chancellor made the stunning declaration that the UK's trading relationship with the EU is more important than its ties with America. Let that sink in. While standing on American soil, speaking directly to US officials, she effectively told our strongest ally, they're second tier in Labour's grand scheme. This wasn't a slip of the tongue or an accidental gaffe. The timing and location of these remarks reveal a calculated strategy unfolding before our eyes. By making such a statement during high-level meetings with American counterparts, Reeves has signalled where Labour's true priorities lie. And it's not with strengthening the special relationship that has served Britain well for generations.
The bigger picture is Brexit. Where does it take us? We had Ursula von der Leyen, who's the European Union president, yesterday with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer. If you're trying to do a deal, trading over some goods, arguably you try and big up the opponent to get a better deal. I only plant the thought there.
No.
I'd never say no more than that. That's pitch rolling, preparing the ground. Charlie knows all this from his time in government, ahead of this big summit next month. And what's fascinating is how the language is changing. Now, we know what the Labour triple lock is on Brexit. No.
What makes this statement particularly troubling is how divorced it is from economic reality. The hard numbers tell a completely different story from Reeves's rhetoric. US-UK trade surpassed £250 billion just last year, with continuous growth demonstrating the robust nature of our transatlantic partnership. Meanwhile, Britain's share of exports to the European Union has been gradually shrinking, painting a picture at odds with the Chancellor's assessment. This disconnect between Labour's stated priorities and economic facts raises serious questions about their true agenda. Are they making decisions based on ideological alignment with Brussels rather than Britain's economic interests? The evidence certainly points in that direction. Starmer campaigned on promises to make Brexit work rather than reverse it, repeatedly assuring voters he had no intention of rejoining the EU. Yet Reeves's comments suggest Labour is pursuing a strategy of EU reintegration by stealth, gradually realigning Britain's economic interests with Brussels, while downplaying our most valuable international partnership. The historical significance of Britain's relationship with America cannot be overstated. For decades, this special bond has yielded tremendous benefits for the UK, from enhanced security cooperation to technological innovation and economic prosperity. The US remains a global powerhouse in tech, energy, and financial services, offering dynamic partnership opportunities. Contrast this with an EU struggling with stagnation and bureaucratic inertia, and Reeves's prioritisation becomes even more questionable. Perhaps most concerning is what this shift in priorities means for British sovereignty.
They're just nibbling away at the edge of that, I think, with the 18 to 30s. It looks like there'll be some deal to allow those younger people, younger adults, to go to and fro between the European Union and the UK. But the language today from number 10, this is not about return to the EU, but we will not be defined by the argument of the past. And that, to me, says so much. They recognise where Brexit was. They're trying to create a new Brexit.
The Chancellor seems to have forgotten that EU trade relationships come with significant regulatory strings attached. While American partnerships generally respect Britain's independent decision-making, deeper EU integration inevitably means ceding control to Brussels on increasingly wider areas of policy. This is precisely what millions voted against in 2016. Labour's China approach compounds these concerns. At the Chinese embassy in Washington, Reeves performed a remarkable balancing act, acknowledging China's rise presents challenges to Western economies while simultaneously praising its supposed benefits. She cited cheaper goods, innovation, and increased trade opportunities, even as security experts warn about the risks of economic dependence on Beijing. This pattern reveals a troubling contradiction in Labour's foreign policy. They express concerns about foreign threats while simultaneously opening doors to increased dependency on regimes that don't share our values. It's difficult to reconcile these positions with their claimed vision of a truly independent Britain. We must now seriously consider whether Reeves's Washington comments represent just the first step in a broader plan to gradually pull Britain back into the EU's regulatory orbit without explicit public consent. The strategy appears designed to avoid triggering immediate backlash while steadily undoing Brexit through 1,000 small cuts rather than a single dramatic move. This isn't merely poor diplomacy, it's a deliberate, fatal move that weakens Britain's position with its most powerful ally while setting the stage for EU reintegration. By publicly diminishing the importance of US-UK relations, Labour has damaged a partnership that took generations to build, potentially hampering future trade negotiations and security cooperation at a time of global instability. The consequences could extend far beyond trade statistics. America remains Britain's most crucial security partner through NATO and intelligence sharing arrangements. By signalling that these ties are secondary to European relations, Labour risks destabilising diplomatic foundations that have underpinned British security for decades. Make no mistake, what we're witnessing with Rachel Reeves isn't just poor judgment, but a calculated dismantling of Brexit through the back door of economic policy. This Washington declaration marks the moment Labour revealed their true intentions without the inconvenience of democratic consultation. The implications are chilling. If these manoeuvres continue unchecked, Britain's sovereignty will gradually slip away, with Brussels, not Westminster, dictating our national future. The very scenario Brexit voters sought to prevent is unfolding before our eyes. The real question facing the British public isn't whether Labour intends to reverse Brexit, but whether we'll recognise this betrayal of democratic will before the damage becomes irreversible.